The ultimatum. Captain Maya Thorne stood alone at the observation deck of Outpost Helios, gazing at the swirling cosmic dust of the Horsehead Nebula. The stars seemed different here, at the edge of Coalition space, where humanity had been permitted limited access for the past 20 years. As Earth's senior diplomat at this remote station, she was the only human among 17 alien species. Her purpose: to serve as a bridge between worlds. The station's artificial gravity hummed beneath her feet. Coalition technology was still centuries ahead of Earth's best efforts, a fact the member species never failed to emphasize during negotiations. Yet humanity had adapted to space travel faster than any species in recorded history, a point of both pride for humans and concern for the Coalition. Admiring the view again, Captain Thorne. The voice was melodic but artificial, translated through her neural implant. Thorne turned to face Ambassador Krell, the station's Araxian administrator. The tall, feathered being's crest rippled with iridescent colors, a sign of respect in their culture. "It never gets old," Thorne replied. "No matter how many outposts I've been stationed at, the universe still takes my breath away." "Your species' fascination with beauty is quite remarkable," Krell said, stepping closer. "Most emerging species are too concerned with survival and advancement to notice such things." "Perhaps that's what makes us human," Thorne offered. Krell's translator hesitated, as if searching for the right words. "Perhaps what makes you dangerous." Thorne raised an eyebrow. "I wasn't aware diplomats were considered dangerous." "Not you specifically." Krell's inner eyelids flickered, a sign of discomfort. "The Coalition Summit concluded yesterday. I wasn't supposed to tell you this, but I consider you a friend. The Council has concerns about Earth's expansion rate. We've adhered to every regulation. It's not about regulations." Krell's feathers flattened against his body. "It's about potential. Humans have accomplished in 2 centuries what took the Araxians 2 millennia. Your adaptation rate is unprecedented." Before Thorne could respond, her neural implant chimed. A priority message from Earth Command. "Retuaren adme hediakiloi. Coalition Summit Aukisio Minitila Sci-Fi Idiomij. Transport arriving 600. Your people are recalling you," Krell asked, noting her expression. "Apparently." Thorne kept her voice neutral. "Duty calls. Be careful, Maya." Krell used her first name, something he'd never done before. "Not everyone in the Coalition sees humans as I do." As Thorne packed her quarters later that night, her implant received another transmission, this one encrypted and off the official channels. The file opened automatically, bypassing her security protocols. Surveillance footage from the Coalition Summit appeared before her eyes. Supreme Chancellor Vox, the crystalline leader of the Coalition's most ancient species, addressed the inner circle. "The human problem grows more concerning each cycle. Their population expands beyond sustainability. Their technology advances at an alarming rate. If we extrapolate another 50 years, holographic projections filled the chamber, simulations showing human expansion, technological development, and military capabilities. The numbers were alarming even to Thorne. "We could simply revoke their access privileges," suggested a reptilian counselor. "Too late for half measures," Chancellor Vox replied. "We've studied their history. When threatened, humans unite. When cornered, they fight beyond reason. The safest path is targeted removal of their leadership, followed by peacekeeping occupation. Assassination." The word echoed through the chamber. "That violates our most sacred laws. The Coalition's primary directive is to maintain galactic stability," Vox said coldly. "One species cannot be allowed to threaten that stability." The transmission ended abruptly. Thorne stood frozen, heart pounding. The Coalition, the supposed beacon of peace in the galaxy, was planning to decapitate Earth's government. But who had sent her this warning? And why? The journey back to Earth was tense. Thorne's transport passed through 3 Coalition checkpoints, each more rigorous than the last. At the final checkpoint, the Coalition officers seemed especially interested in her diplomatic credentials, scanning them multiple times while exchanging glances. When her ship finally entered Earth's solar system, an emergency broadcast cut through all channels. The message was brief but chilling. Coalition fleet approaching Earth space. Numbers exceed permitted diplomatic vessels by factor of 20. All personnel to defensive positions. Thorne's pilot, a young lieutenant named Chen, looked back at her with wide eyes. "Captain, what's happening?" "The Coalition is making a move," Thorne said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Get us to Luna Command as fast as possible." As they approached Earth orbit, Thorne saw them. Dozens of Coalition warships, their sleek forms distinctive against the blackness of space. Earth's defensive fleet, barely a tenth their number, formed a protective screen around the planet. Luna Command was in chaos when they arrived. Admiral Hassan, Earth's senior military commander, was directing operations from the central hub. "Captain Thorne," he acknowledged grimly as she entered. "I assume you've been briefed." "Only partially, sir. I know the Coalition is planning something against Earth's leadership." "It's already begun," Hassan said, gesturing to a holographic display. 2 hours ago, they executed Ambassador Lin during a live broadcast to the entire Coalition. Their message was clear: humanity is a threat that must be contained. Thorne felt sick. Lin had been her mentor, a brilliant diplomat who believed in peaceful coexistence. "What are our options?" "Limited." Hassan's face was grave. "Our fleet is outnumbered and outgunned. The Coalition has demanded Earth's unconditional surrender within 12 hours, or they'll begin orbital bombardment." "We can't just give up," Thorne protested. "No one's surrendering," a new voice said. Thorne turned to see General Eliza Wright, head of Earth's Defense Intelligence, entering the command center. The woman's silver hair was pulled back in a severe bun, her uniform impeccable despite the crisis. "Admiral, Captain," Wright nodded to them. "The Prometheus protocol has been activated." Hassan's expression changed from resignation to shock. "That's impossible. Prometheus is a myth. A contingency plan from the early days of space exploration." "Not a myth, Admiral," Wright said, inserting a data crystal into the command console. "A carefully guarded secret, waiting for exactly this scenario." The holographic display changed, showing a three-dimensional map of the solar system. Across Mars, Venus, the asteroid belt, and even Earth's moon, dots of light began to appear. "What am I looking at?" Thorne asked. "Humanity's insurance policy," Wright explained. "Before we ventured into the stars, our predecessors prepared for the worst. Automated defense systems, hidden shipyards, weapon platforms, all dormant until needed." "This can't be right," Hassan said, studying the displays. "Some of these installations predate our first Mars colony. They'd have to be at least 300 years old." "Older," Wright said quietly. "Much older." As they watched, more systems came online across the solar system. On the long-abandoned far side of the moon, massive doors that had been hidden for centuries began to open. Within the asteroid belt, what appeared to be ordinary rocks split apart, revealing concealed hardware. On Mars, beneath the dust of millennia, entire facilities began powering up. "How is this possible?" Thorne whispered. "Who built all this?" "That's classified beyond your clearance," Wright said. "But what matters now is that we have options. The Coalition thinks we're defenseless. They're about to learn otherwise." On the main view screen, a Coalition transmission appeared. Chancellor Vox's crystalline form dominated the image. "People of Earth," the alien leader began, "your expansion ends today. Your species has been deemed a destabilizing influence on galactic peace. Submit to Coalition guidance or face extinction." Admiral Hassan straightened his uniform and stepped forward. "Chancellor, this is Admiral Hassan of Earth Defense Command. We have received your ultimatum." "Then you understand your situation," Vox replied. "Your primitive defenses cannot hope to." A warning klaxon cut through the transmission. On auxiliary screens, Coalition ships began reporting energy signatures appearing throughout the solar system. What's happening? Vox demanded, his crystalline form shifting colors rapidly. You killed one of our diplomats, Hassan said calmly. In doing so, you awakened something you don't understand. The transmission cut off as the first of the ancient defense systems engage. From the dark side of Luna, massive railguns that had laid dormant for centuries fired in perfect synchronization. Throughout the asteroid belt, hidden missile platforms launched salvos at the Coalition fleet. This is impossible, a Coalition officer was heard saying over an intercepted channel. Their technology is primitive. They shouldn't have these capabilities. In the command center, General Wright watched with grim satisfaction as the Coalition fleet scattered, their formation broken by the unexpected resistance. What did you mean, something older? Thorne asked, turning to Wright. Older than our space program. Wright hesitated, then nodded toward a sealed door at the rear of the command center. Follow me, Captain. It's time you learned the truth about humanity's origins. As they passed through layers of security, Thorne felt a growing sense of unease. The facility they entered was different. The architecture older, the technology unlike anything she'd seen before. Welcome to Archive 1, Wright said as they entered a vast chamber filled with artifacts and data terminals. The Coalition thinks humans are dangerous because we adapt too quickly. What they don't know is why. On the central display, an image appeared. A DNA strand, but with structures Thorne didn't recognize. Human DNA, Wright explained, with engineered sequences that don't appear in any other Earth species. We weren't just exploring when we found the Coalition. We were returning. The Reckoning. In the heart of the Coalition flagship, Chancellor Vox's crystalline form pulsed with agitation as reports flooded in. What should have been a simple display of overwhelming force had turned into chaos. Hidden weapon platforms throughout the solar system had activated simultaneously, targeting his fleet with precision that suggested advanced targeting algorithms. Impossible, Vox muttered, reviewing the data. Their technological development is well documented. They shouldn't have these capabilities. Chancellor, his science officer interrupted. We're detecting energy signatures inconsistent with human technology. These defense systems, they're not human in origin. Explain, Vox demanded. The weapon signatures match records from the precursor era, the officer said, voice trembling. Systems dormant for millennia are activating throughout this system. Vox's crystalline body dimmed momentarily, the equivalent of shocked silence for his species. The precursors were little more than legend, an ancient race said to have seeded the galaxy with life before vanishing without explanation 50,000 years ago. Are you suggesting humans have discovered precursor technology? Vox asked. No, Chancellor, the science officer replied. I'm suggesting they've inherited it. Meanwhile, in Archive 1 beneath Luna's surface, Captain Thorne stared at the holographic displays General Wright had activated. They showed anatomical comparisons between humans and other Earth species, highlighting dozens of subtle differences. Bipedal locomotion, opposable thumbs, extended neoteny, remarkable adaptability to environmental stressors, Wright explained. All traits that make no evolutionary sense for a species that evolved on a single planet. You're saying humans were engineered? Thorne asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Not just engineered, Wright replied. Weaponized. Humanity was created as a living weapon system by the race we now call the precursors. The display changed, showing ancient cave paintings alongside chemical formulas. Our bodies metabolize toxins more efficiently than any other known species. Our wounds heal at remarkable rates. Our brains form neural connections with unprecedented speed. We're walking biological laboratories, constantly adapting, constantly evolving. But why? Thorne asked. And if we're so advanced, why did we forget all this? We didn't forget, Wright said. We were reset. Approximately 12,000 years ago, something happened. We believe a conflict that nearly wiped out the precursors. The survivors implemented emergency protocols, placing their weapons, us, in dormancy. Earth was designated a sanctuary world, protected by automated systems, while humanity was allowed to develop naturally. Until we rediscovered space travel, Thorne realized. Exactly. When humans first landed on Luna, we triggered dormant systems left here eons ago. The Prometheus Protocol was designed as a failsafe. If humanity ever faced extinction, the ancient defenses would reactivate. Above them, the battle was intensifying. Coalition ships scrambled to regroup as more ancient systems came online. From deep within Mars, massive cannons emerged from the rusty surface, targeting the largest coalition vessels with unerring accuracy. On Earth, civilians watched in awe as the night sky lit up with weapons fire. Dormant defense satellites that had orbited silently for millennia suddenly revealed themselves, creating an impenetrable defensive grid around the planet. In coalition space, member worlds watched the live feeds with growing concern. The humans weren't just fighting back. They were winning, using technology that rivaled the most advanced coalition systems. At Jupiter Station, the last coalition stronghold in the solar system, Admiral Krell of the Araxians prepared for humanity's inevitable assault. As the highest-ranking coalition officer remaining, he'd assumed command after communications with Chancellor Vox were lost. All ships maintain defensive formation, he ordered. We cannot allow humans to expand beyond this system. The coalition's survival depends on it. His tactical officer, a young Silesian with multifaceted eyes, looked up from her console. Admiral, we're detecting an unusual energy signature approaching from Saturn. On the view screen, a massive ship appeared, unlike anything in the coalition registry. Its design was both organic and mechanical, with flowing lines that suggested it had been grown rather than built. As it approached, smaller vessels deployed from its hull, moving with impossible speed and precision. Precursor design, the tactical officer whispered, fear evident in her voice. The legends were true. Open a channel, Krell ordered, straightening his feathers. If death was coming, he would face it with dignity. The view screen flickered, and to Krell's surprise, a familiar human face appeared. Captain Thorne, he said, recognizing Earth's diplomat from Outpost Helios. Ambassador Krell, Thorne replied, her expression solemn. I see you've been promoted. Circumstances demanded it, Krell admitted. I expect you've come to destroy what remains of our fleet. No, Thorne said. I've come to offer terms. In the silence that followed, Krell studied the human closely. Despite everything, she showed no signs of the bloodlust his people had feared from humans. Instead, she appeared sad. The coalition attacked based on fear, Thorne continued. Fear of what humanity might become. That fear wasn't entirely misplaced, though your methods were unconscionable. You have us at a disadvantage, Krell acknowledged. What terms do you propose? The coalition will acknowledge Earth's sovereignty and humanity's right to exist, Thorne said. In exchange, we will share oversight of the precursor technology with the Joint Council, human and coalition representatives working together. And if we refuse? That would be unwise, Thorne said simply. The systems currently active represent less than 10% of what's available to us. We don't want war, Ambassador. We never did. The transmission ended, leaving Krell to consider humanity's offer. The coalition had attacked based on projections and fears that had now become self-fulfilling. By trying to prevent humanity's rise to power, they had instead accelerated it. 3 days later, representatives from Earth and the coalition met on neutral ground. An ancient precursor station that had orbited Neptune for millennia, recently reactivated by the Prometheus Protocol. Chancellor Vox, who had survived the initial battle, faced Captain Thorne across a conference table designed for beings long extinct. Your terms are acceptable, Vox said reluctantly. But the coalition requires assurances that humanity will not use this technology for expansion or conquest. We understand your concerns, Thorne replied. That's why we're proposing joint oversight. The precursors didn't just leave us weapons, they left knowledge. medical technology that could extend lifespans across all species, clean energy solutions, faster-than-light travel systems more efficient than anything the Coalition has developed. Why would you share this with us? Vox asked, suspicious. We tried to destroy your world. Because that's not what we were made for, Thorne said quietly. Yes, humans were engineered as weapons, but weapons need a purpose. The precursors designed us with remarkable adaptability, but also with empathy, curiosity, and creativity. They didn't just want soldiers, they wanted successors. In the chamber center, a holographic projection appeared, a DNA strand slowly rotating, highlighting sequences shared between humans and the fragmentary precursor samples recovered from ancient sites. We were their children, Thorne explained, created to survive what they could not. The knowledge they left behind wasn't just a gift to us. It was meant for all sentient life. Chancellor Vox's crystalline form shifted through colors as he processed this information. The Coalition had existed for millennia, believing itself the pinnacle of galactic civilization. To discover that humans, these newcomers they had feared and dismissed, were the inheritors of the legendary precursors, challenged everything they thought they knew. How can we trust you won't use this power against us in the future? Vox finally asked. The same way we'll trust you, Thorne replied. By working together, the precursors didn't leave us weapons just to conquer. They left us the stars to protect. As the terms were finalized and the treaty took shape, observers from both sides watched with cautious optimism. The Coalition had made a grave miscalculation based on fear, nearly triggering the very catastrophe they had sought to prevent. Humanity had revealed capabilities beyond anything suspected, yet chosen restraint over retribution. On Earth, celebrations were tempered with solemn reflection. The revelation of humanity's engineered origins sparked philosophical debates and religious crises. Yet as the ancient systems returned to dormancy, and the first joint research teams began studying precursor artifacts, a new sense of purpose spread across human settlements. They had been created as weapons, yes, but they had chosen to become peacekeepers instead. In her quarters aboard the Neptune station, Captain Thorne recorded her final entry as Earth's diplomatic representative. Tomorrow, she would assume her new role as co-chair of the Human Coalition Joint Council. The Galactic Council's deadly mistake, she dictated, was assuming that because humans were made for war, we couldn't choose peace instead. Perhaps that's the final test the precursors left for us, not whether we could fight, but whether we would choose not to. As she finished her entry, Thorne looked out at the stars. The same stars she had admired from Outpost Helios, now seen with new understanding. Humanity's journey among them was just beginning, and for the first time, they wouldn't be traveling alone.